Once upon a time in TV land, sitcoms were wholesome and pure, and one place that was the place to be was Greenacres. And farm living was the life of the zany character known as Eb Dawson. From a farm in Laurel, Mississippi to Hollywood, this week we honor the resting legend, Tom Lester. Hi, and welcome to Mississippi Mourning, our Rest in Legend series. Join us as we travel to the graves to honor Mississippi's most legendary figures. First, I'd like to give a special thank you to all our new subscribers. And if you like grave finding and history, don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe. This week, we travel about an hour and a half just south of Jackson along US 49 South to Laurel, Mississippi, the resting place of Tom Lester. We arrive at the Hickory Grove Cemetery, which has several entrances. This one is the Lake Park entrance, but we drove around, and I was trying to find the oldest grave at this cemetery. I asked, there were some people out mowing the grass and doing the upkeep on the cemetery, and I stopped and asked a couple of the maintenance workers if they knew where the oldest grave was, and they were new and they weren't familiar with the cemetery yet, so they couldn't help me out. And I searched and searched this grave. I don't think he has a tombstone, but the oldest grave at this cemetery is James Lafayette Clanton. He was born March 4th of 1844 in Coffeyville, Alabama, and he died July the 14th of 1862. He was only 18 years old. He died in Richmond, Virginia. Just a few steps away from one of the entrances, we find the resting place of Tom Lester. They're out here mowing, so there's fresh grass all over his headstone, so I'm brushing some of the grass away. Tom Lester, or Eb as he was affectionately called throughout his whole life, was born in Jackson, Mississippi, but he grew up on his grandfather's farm in Laurel. And since he was raised on a farm, he knew all the things that a farmhand should know, like shucking corn, fishing, hunting, picking cotton, and yes, even milking a cow. And that's how he landed his role as the zany character Eb on Green Acres. I believe I read somewhere that there was probably over 400 people that auditioned for the part of Eb, but since Tom Lester was the only one who knew how to milk a cow, that's how he landed his role. Tom is buried here in the family plot next to his mom and dad. So if you're watching over on YouTube, you can see the graves of his parents. Green Acres aired for 6 seasons from September of 1965 until April of 1971, with Eb appearing in almost nearly every episode except for the first half of the 67-68 season, and that is when he fell ill with mono. And the show explained Eb's absence is that he had eloped and he was on his honeymoon. But how did we get here to Green Acres, the place to be? How did he get from a farm in Laurel to Hollywood? Well, his journey began when he graduated high school. He attended the University of Mississippi. That's right, another Ole Miss alumni. He got degrees in biology and chemistry. And although he played a ditzy, kind of dumb farmhand, he was actually a very, very smart guy. He went to Oklahoma where he taught school. But throughout his life, he always loved comedy. And he was inspired by Don Knotts. And he thought I could play these quirky characters. So he moved to Los Angeles to pursue his acting career. And he kind of, inspired by Don Knotts and, the quirkiness, that's how he developed his portrayal of Eb. Lester also played the character Eb on the Beverly Hillbillies and Petticoat Junction. He also appeared in The Little House on the Prairie. And he also did some movies, Benji, Gordy. He appeared on Knight Rider, Santa Barbara, Marcus Welby, MD, American Style, Love. Did a lot of other films. Oh, and The Pistol, Birth of a Legend. However, Lester did turn down a lot of roles that did not align with his Christian values. He was a devout Christian throughout his whole life, often spoke to youth groups and religious gatherings. He was not a drinker, and he remained humble, which is why I think he is a legend. He's a legend in my mind, at least, because it's hard to, become famous and live in Hollywood, and there very few can maintain their values throughout their life, and I admire that about Tom Lester. He was also a dear and lifelong friend to the Reverend Billy Graham, and if you're watching over on YouTube, you can see the clip of his speech. Lester was also a conservationist, and he received Mississippi's Wildlife Farmer of the Year award in 1997. Staying humble and true to his roots, he divided his time between Southern California and Laurel, Mississippi. Tom waited until much later in life to get married. He finally married for the first time July of 2007 at the age of 68. After 12 years of marriage, the couple decided to call it quits and divorced in 2019. So at the time of his divorce, Lester was now 80 years old. With his health slowly deteriorating, he needed a caregiver, and that's where he met his fiancee, Jackie Peters, and they were engaged to be married at the time of his passing. He passed away April the 20th, 2020 in Nashville, Tennessee due to complications from Parkinson's disease. From once probably being the youngest cast member of the show, Lester was the last surviving cast member. From being a farmhand on the small town of Laurel, Mississippi, to a farmhand in Hollywood, California, this week we honor the wrestling legend Tom Lester, also known as Eb Dawson. Don't forget to tune in next time as we honor another wrestling legend. I'm Erin Lee, reminding everyone to be kind and stay humble. Thanks for watching.